Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Out War. I am Turner, and I am joined in the studio with Rosie. What's up, Rosie?
Hey, what's up?
It's been a couple months, man.
hmm
It's been a while. Nice little break there. We we were. It was odd. It was a nice break on some regards because I was had my Sunday nights back at some level, you know what I mean?
hmm
But man, I missed hanging out and seeing you.
Yeah, me too.
And man, so well, what do you know?
Oh, hey. I guess I got a couple. What was let's see, the first one?
We gotta shake the rust off, man.
Yeah. Did you know that there's a nuclear bomb that's lost somewhere off the coast of Georgia,
Great.
the
No.
country?
Oh, the country. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Well, how about, oh, no, sorry. Georgia, the state.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On February 5th, 1958, an Air Force jet crashed into a B-47 bomber carrying a 7,000-pound nuclear bomb. The pilot, worried that the bomb might break loose from the damaged plane, dropped it into the water outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Wow.
The Army searched for the bomb for months, were never able to recover it.
So that was in 1958.
Yeah.
Technology hasn't gotten better that we could go and skim
Totally find it.
the whole coast. I mean, we have to know where it wrecked, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, did they just drop the nuke?
I mean, there's probably submarine traffic going down through there.
I mean, I would assume the country that knew about that would probably be trying to steal it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Free nuke.
Yeah, speaking
Did you hear about submarine? You're talking about? Did you hear about the submarine that ran into the rock formation over in the China Sea or something like that? Like a week ago. Yeah, I guess they they go around. They don't turn on their sonar so they can be undetectable. But then they don't have sonar on, so they don't know what's around them.
right.
And I think there was like a rock formation, or they call it like a sea mountain or something like that, or ocean mountain, and it hit it. And there was like 17 sailors that were hospitalized from it or something like that.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah, I heard it on like a news clip, like a blip, and I like
That was it?
it was weird. I was driving, and you know how like when you're driving, you're like half paying attention, half not. And then the news report came up. And it was at the end of the news report when I realized, oh my gosh, that was like super important. And I totally wasn't paying attention. So, and you can't rewind on the radio.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I wonder why they don't do that. Why don't they, since all radio comes through is almost all digital now, right? The signal, the FM signal. Why don't they have like a 15-second rewind or a pause, like live?
I feel like they do have it.
Like your DVR?
I would assume.
know?
Well, if it's live,
Yeah, I guess not.
well, if it's digital signal, it would have to be saving it. Like, well,
Yeah, like a
which
hard drive in your car.
I mean, they do have hard drives.
I
in the
know.
car. I mean, that's how we're storing all this stuff. There's a computer in the car,
I know.
and they're using it to track you. Even if you don't, I was gonna say the level. I mean, if you have like a smart car, like a Tesla,
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, in case people are wondering, this probably isn't gonna be. We're rusting the dust off, and
Yes.
so we don't. It's not gonna be like super crazy, probably. But I was just gonna say, we're gonna. It's been a while for me.
Yeah.
So
We both got to
gotta
get.
go with it. But yeah, like so Tesla's done. Like that's. I mean, I think there's crazier computers than like a regular computer because it's doing all sorts of
Oh yeah. It's driving
crazy
itself, man.
AI on board stuff that's super advanced. But I mean, even like police do this now. Like even if you have, what is it? They always say like a car made after, I think it was sometime in the 80s. That's why, during like apocalypse movies and everything like that, there's no cars that are working after, I want to say it's sometime in the 70s. Like anything, if you get an 80s anything,
Yeah.
it doesn't apply. Because that's when they started putting in like electronic starters. So like an EMP blast
Right.
would just wipe out everything and you can't start the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like older cars, they could because it was all mechanical.
Yeah.
So anyone out there listening, You should probably go try to buy like
get
an
an old
old
junker.
an old junker.
Farm
Like,
truck or something.
yeah, yeah.
4-wheel drive would be good.
Yeah. Stored like an old pickup truck. So
Yeah, that'd be good.
yeah. But yeah, so just like a normal, like I have a car that doesn't, it's older. I guess it's relative. But there's no, like I don't have a backup camera.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. I've never had a car with a backup.
Dude,
but
my previous car was a 99 Jeep.
yeah.
That was
Yeah, that was bare bones.
that was bare bones.
Yeah. But there's stuff like even in the computer, like they use this for like crash, to like figure out
Oh, right.
like hit and runs and stuff like that. Yeah, they can pull the speed, the location data, like if you made a right turn, a left turn. These are all just like standard things that the computer stores, and that kind of like a black box
Yeah.
in an airplane. They can tell if your headlights are on because it has like, and it doesn't even need to store data. It just like every action is stored on.
It's like a line of code or
Yeah,
something.
it's like a code. So it can say like headlight, key was in ignition at 9:05. Headlight, and headlights were turned off, or headlights never came on, or anything
So
like
every
that.
action in the car is recorded,
Yeah.
basically,
So
digitally.
yeah,
You change the channel. It has a timestamp.
yeah, everything.
Yeah.
They're just called like logs.
Yeah.
It's a log of everything that happens. So, so I was gonna say, even your car is tracking you, like even older cars, to a scary level of things that you may not be aware of. But the new cars are just, it's outrageous the amount of spy. Like think of your phone, right? Because all these other
Oh, your
ones,
phone. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
but it has like all, if you have your phone in your car and they like sync via Bluetooth, like now your phone, like your phone, all the data it's transferring from one app to the other is now all going to some car manufacturer.
Right.
Because so like Ford will now know it can gather all the data that's Facebook is sharing and stealing from everyone else. Like think about that. It's when you're bringing all these new things into it, like your data is just.
Well, that was the big thing with the Apple, like the shopping thing. They wanted to be able to, if you're walking down the street, like say in New York City, they'll send you an ad that pops up on your like a notification almost that just comes into your phone because there's there's a hat store there. You're gonna
I forget what it's called. There's a quantum meshing or mesh. It's something meshing. Anyway, the meshing advertisement stuff. Yeah, like Minority Report. Like he's walking around in the mall and all the ads are personalized to him.
Right.
Yeah.
They would love that.
Yeah, I can't remember what the meshing is, but they do all that stuff.
It all starts simple and like all about advertising, getting you something you want, but then it becomes the great reset, and now you can't. Your social credit score is so low that you get locked out of your Tesla and you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, think of that, or your
Or it just
automatic
turns
door logs.
It goes straight to the police station.
Yeah, or at your house. That's like your Nest thermostat. This is what I'm freaked out about. Like you get a Nest thermostat, and all of a sudden you're
Your
wanted.
bill's too high or whatever.
No, not that. The government doesn't like you. All of a sudden it's like, okay, well, it's in the middle of December. We're just going to make sure you don't get any heat.
Right. You keep turning it up, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, we're just going to turn it off. We're going to lock you out of your house because you have some really cool, like unlock the door with my phone.
Yeah. I build those houses.
Yeah.
In my day job. Those are
I'm not doing anything. Nope, nothing.
Or your social credit score is so low that they don't let you have heat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They'll turn it off. They won't let you have it. Yeah.
Penalized.
Yeah.
Or air conditioning. I think for heat it would be, I could handle better than air conditioning. I could handle air conditioning better than heat. Like I don't like the cold. The heat I can handle.
Oh, so it's 120 degrees in your house?
Well, I just wouldn't be you open the windows.
You can't get out.
Yeah.
Everything's locked.
The windows are locked.
Windows are locked. I don't know.
You're locked into your own house.
That's what we're going to do.
Your own prison. Oh, that would suck.
Yeah. But, so we were talking about the nukes.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was going to say that brought me on an original tangent. I was going to say is, did you know that, this I wasn't planned, but when you said to talk about that, that Israel
Okay.
you know how they have a nuclear weapons program
Yeah, yeah.
and they're not supposed to have one? I mean, like, they're not supposed to because that's why Iran wants one and like everyone else. They stole like 60% of their uranium to start their nuclear program in the, yeah, so here it is. It's called Operation Plumbat. Plumbat. It's a Operation Plumbat is believed to have been, but it was proven. But an Israeli covert operations in 1968 to obtain yellow cake, which is processed uranium ore to support the Israeli nuclear weapons effort. And they stole it from a place in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Like
great.
they stole
Awesome.
a bunch of uranium from us. And
Well, being our only ally in the Middle East,
greatest, yeah.
I'm sure that we probably happened to turn the security cameras off that day by accident.
in the 60s, yeah.
or the guard was on an extended lunch break or something.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so
Did you know? There it is.
right there in Pennsylvania. I might have got the wrong one because I think they did it to like every place.
Of course.
They stole it from a bunch
Russia,
of people. Belgium.
Belgium, yeah. Any place they could get into, I'm sure.
Yeah. This was the original Did You Know that I wanted to say.
Okay.
And I wanted to find one that would have been quicker.
It's a triple.
Yeah. Well, you got a couple in there. So I'm just going to read this story because I don't know how to sum it up without giving it away.
All right.
But you guys will like this. United Airlines Flight 976 was a regularly scheduled flight from... Okay. I was going to do it in an Italian voice because it kind of sounded Italian, but it's not an Italian airport. So United Flight 976 was a regularly scheduled flight from Ministro Pistorini.
Hey, watch your mouth, boy.
Ministro Pistorini.
Pittadini.
International Airport in Buenos Aires. Not Italy. Doesn't that sound Italian?
Yeah. It's maybe, is it Portuguese, maybe?
Yeah, I guess it's close, but...
The Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, they're very similar. They'll have that Latin descent, the origin. Yeah. All right.
Fair enough. Anyway, to JFK.
Okay.
And it said, upon landing one passenger, Gerard Finneran was arrested by the FBI and charged with interfering with a flight crew and threatening a flight attendant.
Okay.
During the flight, Finneran, a Wall Street investment banker, had been refused further alcoholic beverages when the cabin crew determined he was intoxicated. After they thwarted his attempt to pour himself more, Finneran threatened one flight attendant with violence and attacked another one. He then went into the first-class compartment, which was also carrying Portuguese President
Hey, all right.
Mario Soares, or whatever it is, and Argentinian Foreign Minister Guido Di Tella and their security details. There, he climbed on a service trolley and defecated, using linen napkins to wipe himself, and later tracked and smeared his feces around the cabin. Food service was canceled due to this unsanitary conditions, and the crew sprayed perfume all over the cabin instead to suppress the smell of the feces.
How long was that flight, I wonder?
From Buenos Aires to New York?
Yeah, it's got to be like 6-7 hours, man.
I think it would be longer than that.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, so it said food service was canceled due to the unsanitary conditions and the crew spray, blah, blah, blah. The pilots tried to divert to someone in Puerto Rico. They were refused since the presence of foreign dignitaries on board created a security risk. Finneran had by then calmed down, returned to his seat. Finneran's attorneys claimed he had been suffering from a severe case of traveler's diarrhea and had been prevented from using the first-class restroom closest to his seat. Just outside that section by Suarez's security, he pleaded guilty and was fined $5,000 with 2 years probation. And he also agreed to perform community service and pay $48,000 to reimburse United's cleaning costs and other passengers for their airfare. The incident has been recalled as the worst case of air rage ever.
What year was that?
1995.
95. You don't let me have another drink. I'm going to show you. It's a me. Mario.
Wait, who?
I don't know. I just we were doing the voices, so I figured I'd throw in. He was one of the guys on the plane.
That's the real reason they didn't want to stop in Puerto Rico.
Right.
Puerto Rico, they're
Portugal. Wait, Puerto Rico. Wait, they were heading from Buenos Aires to New York, though.
yeah. They tried to stop at Puerto Rico, but they couldn't.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because they didn't want to be mobbed. I don't know if here's another. Did you know that Mario, the plumber,
Yeah.
the highest concentration of Mario fans are in Puerto Rico?
Oh, cool.
I'm just kidding. I don't think they can afford a
Oh.
Nintendo.
Jeez. Oh.
They can't afford bottled water. You think they have Nintendos? Maybe now. Maybe now they have a Nintendo system.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Oh, we have listeners in Puerto Rico.
Dude, I'm just kidding. You know.
You know. All right. Sit back, drink a coffee, and
Whatever.
yeah, I don't even remember and enjoy.
You're listening to the All Out War podcast.
All right, we are back. So let's start with just a couple like housekeeping things we got to do. First, I want to say thank you to our listeners on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you so much. I neglect Spotify all the time for podcasting for whatever reason, and I happen to check it out, and we have a growing audience on Spotify. So thank you for our listeners that are doing that.
Nice.
But we also have some other news, and it's kind of sad, but it's okay. If you notice, Rachel isn't with us right now, and she informed me that with her being pregnant with her third, which we all know about because she announced that a few months ago on the podcast, she said, "Man, I just need to be able to have a break." And there's a lot going on with Rachel. Her husband just got a new job. They moved across the state of Florida, so he has a new job. I think he has actually two jobs. She's pregnant. They just moved. They're at a new church. Like all kinds of stuff in life that's happening. And she's like, I really think I need a break. But I would encourage our listeners to find her on social media. She's very active on Instagram. She's still going to be doing some stuff on Instagram with some of her health stuff that she's been, it's almost like a ministry for her, She's helping out with just keeping, the pregnancy stuff that she always helps push, the health stuff, that she educates in. So anyways, we're going to be sad to not have Rachel on for a while. She's going to take a break. She said maybe 6 months or so, but we'll see. Life is crazy. And, having 3 kids of my own, I understand what she's about to enter into. I always joke around. I'm like, 1 kid is a big adjustment, 2 kid, not so much, 3 kids, you're outnumbered, And so you can't just divide and conquer, right? If they all decide to mutiny, it's hard because it's only 2 against 3.
Yeah.
But
it's easier when they're small because then you can just
grab them. They can't. Yeah.
Put them on a something place up high that they can't get down.
Right. Yeah. Well, unless it's my kids and they jump.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyways, so Rachel's going to be taking a break. So that's going to be a slight change to the podcast, and that happens. In the 3 years or so we've been doing this, since 2018. We've had a few iterations of the podcast. It started with me, you, and Cody, and then just me and you, and then me and you and Rachel. And we had some guests that were coming in pretty regularly too, like Ethan, and then it's had a few iterations, but you and I have been kind of the main anchors for this thing for the whole time. And so who knows? Maybe Rachel will come back earlier. Who knows? I don't know. But we love her, pray for her family, and pray for a good, safe birth. I think, if I'm not mistaken, her due date is in December, so it's right around the corner. And we wish Rachel all the best. And so, and she's obviously welcome.
Yeah, we're not saying goodbye. We're just saying she's
Seeing a little bit.
super pregnant.
Yeah,
So
she's pregnant. Yeah. So, and then we took a break, man. We had, gosh, it was, well, for me, it was about a month. And then I should probably apologize to our listeners too. I tried to do 2 episodes where it was just me. And I realized pretty quickly how hard that is, Rosie. It is hard to carry a podcast by yourself with just you and a guest. Monologuing is it's a skill, and I don't know if I necessarily have it. So you would think being a preacher I'd be able to, but but it's really different when you have a guest and it's just you and them, and so it was. I apologize if they were lame or not as good as what you would expect. But they were decent guests. They were good guests. I feel bad for them. Maybe we should redo them, have them come back on. But yeah. So and then now you're back. So there was a break for you for a couple months, and so we didn't. I was just like, let's just turn the machine on and talk. We have a few things that we definitely are going to touch on, but nothing hard stone. That a topic that we were just going to, that we had been researching or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I do have some cool stuff coming up, that people I've reached out to that I'm waiting to hear back from that we can book for some cool guests, some cool episodes. So, but, hey, can I read a quote to you?
Please.
Okay. So, I know not a lot of people give much thought to the whole COVID stuff that's going on because it's just not really dominating the news or anything like that. And
what is it?
The COVID, the vaccine and the COVID.
You have to break that down. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
All right. Well, yeah, so there's this virus that evidently has been going around. I've been hearing about it.
Yeah. Oh, you want another? Did you know?
Okay.
Germ theory has
Yeah.
never been proven. Viruses don't exist, okay?
See, this is where we need Rachel. This is where she would be like shining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. Those are the 2 things that I'm actually looking into right now is germ theory, and I'm looking into mud floods.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know much about those 2 things, and I've not intentionally, not.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah, and it's new to me. So
Yeah.
let me read a quote to you.
We'll do an episode or 2 on mud floods then.
Okay,
I'm
that'd be
excited.
cool. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So this is from a book called Rule by Secrecy by Jim Marrs. It's about secret societies. And he has a quote in here from a guy by the name of Colonel Fletcher Prouty. And he served as the focal point liaison officer between the Pentagon and the CIA from 1955 to 1963. Listen to what he says. Writing in 1973, what he wrote, I should apologize. What he wrote. In 1973, Prouty said the United States is run by a secret team, an inner sanctum of a new religious order answerable only to themselves. The power of the team derives from its vast intragovernmental undercover infrastructure and is in its direct relationship with great private industries, mutual funds and investment houses, universities, and the news media, including foreign and domestic publishing houses. Remember, this is 1955. All true members of 1973. All true members of the team remain in the power center, whether in office with the incumbent administration or out of office with the hardcore set. They simply rotate to and from official jobs and business world or the pleasant haven of the academia world. So it just reminded me. Some people have seen on Instagram. I put a post up a little while ago of the Pfizer. I think it was the Pfizer CEO who was also working for the CDC, and then the NIH guy was over at Moderna, and it's like this whole revolving door.
Yeah.
And some of it makes sense because it's the health and medical industry, and so you're specialized in that field. But the part of it that's troublesome is that they get these jobs because they're in that spot, or they get that spot because they had that job, and the problem is you begin to lose your what happens is you have a conflict of interest
Yeah.
that can happen. And so, like, I think I discovered that Fauci's wife was on the board that approves the FDA approval for
Yeah.
for new vaccines. And it's like, okay, so, and then, you start following money and you find out that these people are heavily invested in certain aspects of, stock for,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would handsomely be rewarded if things get approved. And so I just wanted to point out from the book from 1973, long time ago, that it's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
happening. So
Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, it's been like, I don't know. This was always something that, I was thinking about this when I was driving somewhere today. I was going to Walmart, I think. And, like we didn't that episode the with why can't I think of his name the we were talking about all the bankers. Why can't I think of it?
the bankers, the Rothschilds or
No.
Rockefellers.
Who was the last 2 guests ago?
Wow.
I know, like 4. It seems like 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
The purple book cover.
Oh, James Musker.
Yeah, James Musker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his whole thing was all about the money. And I was gonna say, I think it gets overlooked or it gets downplayed, because I was gonna say, which is not a good thing because, like, it gets overplayed because everyone's so used to it. We're like, oh yeah, like the bankers, the international bankers, they do all this stuff. They do all the funding and all this, like it's so assumed in our society that like you go into government to get rich.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, there's every administration does it. Like,
Well, look at all the Congress and senators. They go in with a certain amount of wealth and they come out and they're like,
well, yeah, they make what,
4 times the amount that they had, and their salaries are like $220 or something.
Yeah, I think their salaries are like $210,000 a year, which if you're living in DC or
Right.
like that's not a lot of money. I mean,
It's good money, but
it's good money, but you're not like buying $5 million houses. You know what I mean?
Which they are.
Which they are.
Right.
Granted, they're not a lot. It used to be like a lot of rich people would go run for office because they had money. That's why.
Yeah, before they got
It was like a business. I was thinking,
a lot of lawyers.
yeah, they have some.
Professionals.
Yeah, they have some money and they want to, like, that's why they go into politics, because it used to be like, I want to go do my part and I made all this money. I don't care about making money. And now people go into it to make money. And I was going to say, I want to say Congress does not, they're exempt from insider trading laws. They don't apply to them.
Man,
Antitrust law. Like, that's the thing is,
they're kind of immune to.
They
the
are
whole-
immune.
It's like anything you and I would get thrown in jail for a long
yeah,
time.
yeah, and rape charges, murder charges,
Suicide charges.
suicide. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it shouldn't be overplayed. And the same thing. So we're talking about, like that's a pretty easy one to look at of like that. But that, maybe I was younger. I was 10 or 11 back when 9/11 happened. Or
Yeah.
I was 11 years old. But that was like a thing. It's really wild to think about now because I didn't fully grasp how big it was with Donald Rumsfeld. Or no, Dick Cheney. It was Dick Cheney, this vice president. That was he stepped down as CEO of Halliburton.
Right, to become the vice
To
president.
become the vice president.
But they signed a big old fat.
And they were like the lead defense contractor that was sending, like
The
all
War
these
of
things. So they
Terror.
were making all this money. So
Yep.
it really, like Eisenhower talked about it too. And whoa, jeez. Usually my stomach's the one going. But yeah, Eisenhower has this great quote about where he's talking about the military-industrial complex, and watch how I turn all this into stuff. So Eisenhower's sitting there talking, like that's a big one. How that was just so blatant.
Right.
Why Afghanistan makes sense because we were going after bin Laden. He was hiding there and then went into, that makes sense why we were there. Iraq, no reason at all.
Yeah.
Just to fund all this stuff. There's no reason we should have stayed, all these places. But, so then you have like the military industrial complex that Eisenhower, and he was a general,
Yeah. General
he was
Eisenhower,
a 5-star or 4-star general.
Well,
I think
he did become president, which would be equivalent to a 5-star, I guess.
Yeah, but I think during World War II, he was I want to say he was a 5-star general. Like
I didn't know you could do that. That's cool.
Because he was like commander. When you're in war, they had to like...
Oh, right.
So to differentiate him between other forces. I want to say that's it, but I might be talking out my butt. Anyways, so now you have the medical industrial complex, which you were just alluding to, where you have these pharmaceutical companies that are in bed with, literally in bed with them.
That's right.
In Fauci, like that.
Wait, what was that?
I don't know.
It's bad with the people that are, doing all this stuff. Because there's other vaccines, and we're not talking about the vaccines, so I don't want to harp on this too much. But
yeah.
I mean, that's a great one of why are they, certain ones are getting pushed in that.
Right.
But this industrial complex that feeds itself.
Which there are many.
There are many, yeah.
Like I read a tweet today about the evangelical industrial complex.
What was that? Badly named coffee shops? That's something that stay afloat.
They were referencing CCM, Christian music, and the amount of money they make, and it's just kind of a big, machine now.
Yeah.
So.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But there's also other ones I was going to say,
right.
Which I think we're going to talk about. I'm not going to go into this book, but we're to seg you into like the topic that you wanted to talk about, transgender.
Yes.
Like in all this other stuff. So you wanted to talk about this one specific incident because it hits close to home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to say how close it hits to home because no one knows where my home is.
Right.
But
home is where the heart is, Rosie.
Home is where my heart is. But there's there is serious. So I'm just going to say, we're going to talk about some tranny thing that's happening that everyone's heard of probably because it's.
And we're not talking about transmissions, like transmission
right,
in a car. When we say tranny,
you might have been thought of that because we were talking about cars earlier.
People, we need to help spell it out
so
for them.
How about we'll use the word troon?
Troon?
That's I think it's considered pretty derogatory.
Okay, I've never heard that one.
Troon. Troon.
Okay, maybe we should avoid the derogatory terminology.
No, it doesn't mean it's not a bad word, but
yeah. So
anyway.
Let me help. So in reference to what you're talking about is some of our listeners may have heard of Loudoun County, Virginia. It's a rural county right outside of Washington D.C. area. There was an incident that occurred in one of the school systems in one of the high schools where a transgender male, he was born a male but was transitioning, I guess, to become a woman or female. But we don't know because, anyways, what happened was in this individual, he went into a bathroom, followed a girl into a bathroom, and then raped her. And then the school board, the school transferred that student to a different school where he raped another student. And so the first episode happened in May, this past May. I'm not sure when the second one happened because there's not a lot of information that I could find about it. Just
within, I think it was.
Was it this school year?
September. Yeah.
September. So it was within this school year. So the big brouhaha that's happening is that recently at one of the school board meetings here at Loudoun County, and the parent of one of the victims showed up and started to really call out the school board because they refused to take proper action on this individual. Rather than transferring the student to a school, they should have actually expelled the student and pressed charges.
You're getting things a little mixed up.
Well, I mean, he showed up at the school board and then at the meeting.
So the first incident happened at one high school.
Right.
in May,
Right.
and nothing was released. It was released that it was an incident. Something happened.
Right.
And then the father, that nobody knew it was the father of the victim, showed up in July at a school board meeting. And the school board was like, because they were talking about the transgender bathrooms, and they're like, oh, nothing's ever happened.
Right.
And the dad starts going ballistic, and he was like, no, an assault did happen, and you know about it. And they said, no, we don't know
That's
about
right.
any assault.
That's right.
And he, because none of the stuff had been made public, he says, no, it did. You guys are covering it up. And they're like, no, it didn't. And then he was the one that got arrested,
Right.
that everyone saw.
Yeah.
So he gets arrested.
They made him look really bad on.
Yeah.
on
And they're like, this guy just starts screaming about everything. So he gets mad because his daughter had been raped at the first school. And then he goes, and they were denying that it happened. So everyone just kind of moves on from that thing. The student got placed on house arrest and was supposed to be like awaiting criminal charges. They were trying to figure out all this stuff.
Which I did find a press release from the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department.
Right.
That basically said that there was an investigation that was happening from the May incident, the first incident, and it was very complicated because the students knew each other, and they were trying to determine whether or not they had been romantically involved at some point, and so they were trying to kind of parse out all of the details of the information before they could, and plus they were both juveniles, so there was a lot of keep everything out of the public because they didn't want to expose the names of these individuals and all of that.
Yeah.
So the police report that the press release that I read, which was probably 2 days ago, was pretty thorough and it explained it fairly well. But they did not say. They said that they have formally pressed charges. So they have formally pressed charges. So that's good.
Yeah, but so what happened? So then this kid was supposed to be on house arrest or waiting trial, and part of the whole thing was he was supposed to be on house arrest or waiting trial. And so the school board, so the only people at this point in time that know what happened is that parent, the guy, the dad. And actually, this is what it has come out since when the dad was being arrested. His wife, the mom, was saying, they raped my daughter. He raped my daughter. She was raped. Like, she was yelling that, but that doesn't get recorded, or
right.
Everyone's focusing on this, but she's yelling it out. So that happens in May. So just in September, a separate sexual assault happens from someone who, at a different high school, in the same county though, where a transgender, quote unquote, guy, and I think the thing about him, which makes it even more ridiculous, is that he's gender fluid. Right. So he's not even a tranny. He's not even a full troon, like doing HRT and all that stuff. Right. He's like, oh, today I'm going to be a guy. Tomorrow I'm going to wear a skirt, and now I'm going to go into the girls' bathroom. So he wasn't really, whatever. Right. Right. So this other sexual assault happens. The parent of the first incident didn't know that they were connected. The only people who knew that they were connected were the police, I think in that it's a sheriff's department actually in that county. Mm-hmm. And the school board knew about it too. Right. The administration in the school board, yeah. So just recently, I think last week, the Daily Wire, I think, was the one that put it together and basically connected the whole thing. So that was like, oh, this guy is it's the same guy. And so the school board came out and was like, oh, well, we had to let him go back to school. And so we changed it to a different school. And, he promised he wouldn't rape anyone again, basically. He promised, yeah. And then, so they're going back, and he's supposed to have an ankle monitor and all this stuff. And then, so they blame the sheriff, and they're like, well, really, what can we do? Like, well, they're basically like, yeah, we had to let him in, if the police weren't going to keep him at his house. And the police were like, he's supposed to be at his house. Right, yeah. And he shouldn't be allowed to go to another school and immediately rape another person. So that's what happened. And now the dad is being brought back in because now he's like, I told you guys,
So
That's what happened.
So the timeline was that they passed this new policy in Loudoun County that transgender students were allowed to use whichever
one.
bathroom,
When was
whichever. I don't know, but I have the actual policy pulled up right here. It's policy 8040 for Loudoun County Public Schools. And I don't have the date on here. There's not a date because it's a PDF document that's just kind of like...
August.
Was it this August? Okay.
Yeah, I just found it.
So the first incident happened in May. They passed the measure, the policy in August. And I guess that's when the dad shows up and is protesting that. And,
right.
And there was a lot of protesting that. In fact, there's actually, I believe there's an actual open lawsuit against the county right now from a bunch of parents and teachers that are just protesting this particular, policy. But the one part of the policy that I just wanted to read, this is where the breakdown happens.
Yeah.
It's numbers, it's letter C of the policy, and it's simple. It just says access to facilities, and then it says all students are entitled to have access to restrooms and locker rooms that are sanitary, safe, and adequate so that they can comfortably and fully engage in their school programs and activities. Students shall be allowed to use the facility that corresponds with their consistently asserted gender identity. While some transgender students will want that access, others may want alternative that afford more privacy. Taking into account existing school facilities, administrators should take steps to designate gender inclusive or single user restrooms to help, depending on the size of the school. So that's the part of the policy that actually led to this being able to even happen.
Yeah.
Because this student now says, "Oh, well, I identify," as you said, in his situation, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm going to call him a him because he was biologically born a male.
I 100% mean to be disrespectful. Just for the record, I am not trying to downplay it at all.
I'm not downplaying it. I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to be. Anyways, doesn't matter. So this guy, he was identifying as a girl, and they said, like, literally in the news report I heard, it was, or something I read, it was basically he was known to wear skirts.
Yeah.
So I outside of this particular case, this is a trend that's happening in public schools that's very dangerous, and it's extremely dangerous, as we see, for women. Because you're not going to see, you might, but you're not going to see a woman who transitioning to a male going to a male's bathroom and rape some guy. I just don't think you're going to find that case anywhere. Like, not in high school.
Yeah,
you're just not. Maybe in some weird, circumstance in some weird city that's or whatever, maybe a prison. I don't know. I don't know. Someplace weird. But the truth is that it's extremely harmful. Not only is it ridiculous, and it's such a sign of our times. So that's one aspect that the school board's dealing with right now. The other aspect is that when they passed this bathroom policy, this whole new policy for the county, they also were instituting and bringing in critical race theory as an agenda for teaching through K through 12. So it's Loudoun County, man, you guys need to get it together, because I don't know what you're trying to do and what you're trying to prove, but you're failing. Like, you're failing the community, you're failing the public. There's been evidently there's been like unbelievable protests like throughout since like August. It's just been consistent. And my question is like, if you were on the school board and that was your role, wouldn't you, when all this was happening, wouldn't you realize, like, hey, maybe we need to tone it back a little bit?
Yeah.
Maybe we pushed a little too hard, too fast.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Like, that's been the theme for the last couple of years, just in general.
Yeah.
Is they pushed too hard, too fast, like with all the mandate stuff and the vaccines. But I think there's a couple of reasons where if you like don't live in Loudoun County, or why do you care about some county
Right.
in, you know, a state maybe you don't live, maybe a country you don't live in. I was going to say one thing that you should pay attention to. I'm going to try to extrapolate into bigger reasons of why you should care. The Loudoun, basically, there's Virginia up until I think like the late 80s, 90s was always pretty red.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the capital of the Confederacy. And, you know, it was always very southern, like a, I mean,
We were
I think
considered the South. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
which
we
is weird.
still are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a number of reasons, but, you know, Virginia has been one of these states that they don't even look at us any. I was going to say we're both from Virginia. We're
Right.
both Virginians.
Yeah.
We said that before. But the thing about Virginia is that it is like a micro, you know, you look at like these, I don't want to say like failed experiments that are too far gone. Like California is completely gone. Although I will still go on the record. And I'm still, I think, one of the only people that I believe Trump won California.
Wow.
Yeah. I was going to say most of even my friends that were.
Well, you would think that, but then when they had the recall, Newsom apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still, I don't know. I don't know, but I think he won California.
Look, man, I have a lot of friends in California. There's a lot of conservatives in California.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot.
I think it's a good,
There's more mega churches in California than any other state in the country.
yeah. Even more than Texas?
Yeah, I'm probably. But don't quote me, but I think there
wouldn't be
might be.
surprised.
Well, there was two major church movements that grew up out of the 70s and 80s that were headquartered out of California, and they just planted churches like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
You know,
But I mean, you look at California. California's too far gone. I mean, I think at this point, New York, same thing. But the biggest thing about like all these blue states that have been solidly blue for, I was gonna say 20 years, but it's not 2000 anymore. It's 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Virginia is like newly blue, in the sense of it's only been the last 12 years or so.
yeah. Yeah, well,
longer.
It's been less than that, because I can remember when Obama, his second term is when Virginia flipped.
Yeah, but the first one, it was pretty purple. Like, so Virginia
Yeah.
is like a newly, you know, like when we're looking at Georgia is one right now. Texas, to a fair extent, they're talking about Texas going blue. If you care about American politics, you look at Virginia as one of these states that is where Texas could be in 10 years. Like, it's going to take Texas and Georgia shorter amounts of time, because the powers that be have perfected it pretty well,
yeah,
right, at this point.
We talk about the open border. We talk about,
And Virginia very much so is open, like, driver. But this was going to get with Loudoun County. Loudoun County is one of the few, there, very much when we talk about Virginia being the South and everything, is you go outside of Northern Virginia, which should really be its own state, because it is just totally
that's
cut off from every other.
That's the population of the state, is basically Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Other than Richmond.
Northern Virginia, Richmond, and like Newport News.
Virginia Beach, yeah.
Yeah, Virginia Beach. Those are like the big city kind of areas that are the only point that they control basically.
But honestly, Virginia Beach, Newport News is because of the military.
Yeah.
Because they have big Navy bases down there.
Right.
But other than that, Richmond, because that wouldn't exist if the Navy base wasn't there. It wouldn't be like that.
Right. But yeah, so basically the reason this is Virginia is not every governor's, like, Virginia's having a governor's race right now that's going on that
It's pretty important too.
It's very important because we're on the off year election, and Virginia has been a blue, like, we've given up because of Northern Virginia, basically all these transplants and illegal immigrants that are coming in. That's it. You bring in these illegals. I mean, that's what it is. The demographics of the state are changing. They're coming from what they used to be. But if you drive an hour outside of what Northern Virginia is considered, and it's like Prince William County, Fairfax County, Loudoun County. That's pretty much it. I think that's like considered Northern Virginia.
Maybe Stafford County.
Yeah. So
down to like maybe Fredericksburg.
Yeah, but outside of that,
Yeah.
is rural. Like
Yeah.
Southwest Virginia is very
It's
rural,
red, and it's red.
It's red. The whole state outside of that.
Yep.
So the
Well,
significant.
even Loudoun County evidently went red for the election.
I mean, I was watching those. Yeah, I think they did win. I mean, I think they went red. I think for Trump, if Trump won California, I think you guys would understand that. I think he also won Virginia.
Yeah.
But so Loudoun County is one of these big. I think it has a higher population than Fairfax, or they're very close.
Yeah. Pretty close. Yeah.
And so the fact that this all is happening in one of the biggest like the biggest in terms of medium income, it's normally ranked as the highest. It's one or two, and they always go back between Fairfax, which is the one next door to it.
But not just in the state, in the country.
In the country, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always one or two. Is Loudoun County is always number one, number two of the highest median income in the United States for a county.
Yeah.
It's very affluent. So the fact that you have all these rich, affluent, mostly white people that live here outside of the illegal immigrants that are here hidden, in the spots of the not affluent parts. So the fact that these people are revolting against the school board should give a lot of people a lot of hope. That I think it's a really good, so that's the whole thing I've been extrapolating on, is this is a microcosm that I think would be worth paying attention to. That this is like, I don't want to say it's quite, it's almost like looking at New York City. If all of a sudden New York City starts doing all these revolts, like the people of New York City are revolting against.
Yeah, they are. I was reading it today. There was all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. So the fact that Loudoun County, you're getting these people actually going out to vote. 'Cause here's the thing: no one cares about school boards. Like they've never.
Which is the big problem.
Right.
Yes, that's a big problem. But I also want to say, have you heard the quote that our current governor said? He was in a debate about parents don't need to make decisions for their kids' education. They shouldn't be able to make.
Not the current
it's something.
governor.
It was Macaulay or whatever his name.
McAuliffe,
Yeah.
He's not the current
He's
governor.
not. That's
It's
right.
Northam.
Northam. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about
Blackface,
Northam.
yeah.
Good old blackface Northam. But McAuliffe said parents shouldn't really make those decisions for education, which is insane to think about with this happening with this school board in this part of our state. What that shows you what the vast chasm between the two mindsets.
Right. And so that's what I was going to say. The whole thing that I think people should be paying attention to, and the fact that this is an off-year election for governorship of the state, that's why there's so much television. That's why everyone probably, if you listen to this podcast, you already are aware of the situation. You're probably aware of who Terry McAuliffe is, who Glenn Youngkin is. Glenn's the conservative that's running.
Yeah.
For governorship, is that if this blue state, and I think Loudoun County, after all this stuff, I think they're going to vote red. And so this is the whole thing, is Glenn Youngkin, in order to win the governorship of this, he doesn't even need to win all of Northern Virginia. He just needs to come close, and he'll win, because he's secured basically outside of it's Richmond, Newport News, Norfolk, and Northern Virginia.
Yeah. Those are the three big populace.
That's the biggest blue states.
Right.
So if he wins Northern Virginia, one of these two county, or a county or two up here, or comes close, he'll win, which is also very important going into the midterms next year for the senators and everything. So that's my attempt, just off the cuff, just talking about this, of why you should pay attention to this, why. I'm justifying the podcast for you.
But there's another side of this too.
Oh, what?
So the other side of it is that you mentioned, like, it's a school board. Who cares about a school board, right?
Yeah.
But this is the problem, is that we have been permitting, the conservatives have been backing off of these areas of public service. They haven't been engaging in these areas, and they basically are forfeiting areas of community and culture. And what happens is you end up with crap like this, where there's policy 80/40 in Loudoun County, where you can have anybody go into any bathroom that anybody wants to with no regard, and no one can stop them. And kids are getting raped. Girls are getting raped because of that, because people aren't engaging. And that was the thing that I was going to say, is that my kind of call to action on this thing is all the politics and all that stuff aside, which matter greatly, is that this should be a moment where it's like a watershed moment where parents see this type of thing and say, okay, where I live, what's happening in my school board?
Yes.
What's going on in my community? How can I be involved? And I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
I think, I'm kind of, I'm averse to pastors that get up on Sundays and preach politics and things like that, because I would first rather focus on Christ and the gospel. But we do have a civic duty, and we have a right that's been awarded to us to be active in these, in these processes. And if we fail to do it, why should we be surprised when junk like this starts coming down the path?
Yeah.
And why should we be like, why should we be outraged when we actually permitted it? Now it's one thing if someone cheats at an election and you actually did take part in the process and you did make your voice heard, but it didn't count.
Yeah.
I think we're fixing all of that, though. At least I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
I think at this level for the school board, it's probably a little bit easier to get involved in like a grassroots way and have a better change,
Yeah.
But it takes time, though. It takes a lot of effort. And, I got to be honest, I got 3 kids. To get involved with that process would be really challenging for me and my family. I'm a busy person, busy family. You want to throw that into it. And I think that's kind of, a lot of people just kind of set it on cruise control. Like, have you ever gone to vote and like you see all these other things on there? Like, do we want to add, $4 million to build a firehouse on, Elm Street or whatever? Do you want to build another elementary school on this? And you kind of look at those things and you're like, man, do they even need that? Like, then it's like I'm trying to figure it out inside the polling booth there.
I always vote no. If they ask for money, I always vote no.
Vote no on the money.
I voted no on a firehouse. I think the last one there was a firehouse or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need another fire department. No, I don't care.
I think I may have too. I'm like, well, where I live, there's a fire, less than a mile away, there's a firehouse. And I'm pretty good with fire extinguishers. So, and I have insurance. So for me, it's like less of a, the school thing. But now if this is the junk they're going to be doing, then no, don't build another school. I don't want to, pull your kids from the school, start homeschooling, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I was going to say is you have too much faith. I have no faith in the political system anymore.
Right.
I don't think there's any political.
Well, I'd rather go down swinging. If at that level, I'd rather go down swinging, at least giving it a shot, than just running away from it.
That's the big question: is you take the Benedict option and completely remove yourself from the society and just say everything's lost. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want them to corrupt my kids and my family. I'm gonna
teach them myself.
No,
there's look. I'm all for that, honestly. Like, I think that's actually the better option at this point, because number one, they've rejected God in our public school systems. They teach heresy, evolution. They teach, now they're allowing this unbelievable
round earth.
They teach round earth. They teach
science.
They call it globe earth, not round earth. They teach, and now, like I was mentioning earlier, the critical race theory. So now they're doing history revision and trying to make every person that was, instrumental in our nation's founding, evil, because of the culture that existed when they were living.
It's because they're white.
Because they're white, exactly. Yeah. So those things, obviously, you should flee from it. Now, when my oldest is 22, and when she was starting to get in school, there was a pretty robust homeschool movement, and my wife and I prayed about it, considered it. And my attitude at that time was, I want to put my kids in the public school because I wanted to be, missionaries at some level, to present the gospel and live for Christ and be different. But now it's like, it's so unbelievably, the tide is so unbelievably turned. It's almost like, I don't know if I could prepare my kids enough to be in that environment. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not fair for them to have to, like, because it's not just like, it's not like we're sending them in there and they're at equal,
right.
Like, oh, if he's just a nice person, then they'll be able to, like, oh, you want to come to Bible study? Oh, we're friends. Okay. And you come to Bible study, or you go to young adults or something like that. Now it's not. They're like, you're throwing your kid out there, like, in the ocean, holding a
steak with bloody water.
Yeah, steak and blood. I was going to say with the 100-pound anvil strapped to their foot, and they're drowning, and there's nothing you can do except for pull them completely out.
Yeah, and that's, at this point, I would say, like, I would probably encourage that more than I would say remain in there, obviously.
Yeah, because
it's so corrupted, and so it needs some kind of massive. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but it needs some kind of massive reform. So unless we get some people in there that are willing to try and hold the line for some of the, against some of this junk that they're pushing forward to try and teach our kids. And, like critical race theory, like that's Marxist, ideology, and people, they say all day long, no, it's not. But the truth is it is. And it's exactly it's exactly the same process that the Chinese used when they were enacting communism, what was it, I want to say 50, something like that, whenever Mao Zedong, was it 50, somewhere, it was after World War II, but anyways, but something too that a lot of people don't understand is the confusion it causes a kid. So you're in school and they're telling you, oh, this, we're gonna approve this lifestyle, this transgender lifestyle, and it causes all kinds of confusion in the minds and in the hearts of these kids, these innocent kids. And I really don't think it's the school's place to be able to to direct that. You know what I mean? Sex education, because I'm older than you, right? Sex education for us was literally in high school. It was like during gym, and it was one part of a semester. Mm-hmm. And it was like everybody, you go in there, and it was like one film that you would watch, and then the girls went in one room, the guys went in another room, and the teacher just dreaded it, and it was like 2 days, and that was it. Now they literally have a platform, and everything is sexual.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's gone haywire.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, well, I mean, the American public education system is communist. It's Marxist. Yeah. No, I mean, in its real founding.
Yeah.
Like, if you look back in the history of when, I think we talked about this in a podcast episode, the first teachers union was like an open Marxist, but the whole thing is, because I was going to say, to your point, that it might sound hypocritical, but I don't care, and it's not hypocritical because I'm right, is like, oh, so you would want, like, you don't want them hearing about all this gay stuff, or, like the gay people or kids are affirming all this stuff in school because they have like that, or indoctrinating them into this critical race theory or whatever. And it's like, no, I think that we should be indoctrinating them into Christian thought and theology. Like, that's what education is supposed to be. It's supposed to be, you get taught in Christianity, and that's the only thing you should learn. Like,
the moral compass of faith. Yeah.
Yeah. The doctrines of Christianity. It's not God. I'm specific. Very, very specific.
Christ.
With Christ.
Right.
Yeah. I don't care about Judaism or Buddhism or Taoism or learning Islam. No Christianity.
New Age. Yeah, that's right.
And because, whatever, we claim to be a Christian nation, but we don't have Christian education. But anyway, but the whole thing of the education system and why it just doesn't work is because when you think about it, it's more above like the standard core and all this stuff of just dumbing down people to the dumbest
Yeah.
student, is you have to understand that education, the American education system, is set up to produce workers of a minimum skill level. And that's all it is. That's what it was created for, is we're going to teach them. And back when it was started, it was more like they would have home ec. So you would learn how to cook. You'd learn how to balance a checkbook, maybe some woodworking. You take like a metal class, like something like that. You had offered these kind of things.
They still do that stuff.
Yeah, probably in some schools, some good places, but they're all like trying to just get you these skills to be, and teach you to be good at following orders and all this stuff. And you just are used to being in this thing and slowly moving up. But it's all, anything that's like super standardized like that is to make good workers. That's all it is indoctrinate them into the beliefs of the state, not what, that's what it is. It's the belief, whatever the belief of the state is at the time. Everyone learns this, and then you go implement it, and you just go in, and it's just very mindless. You're not supposed to thrive and learn, and that's looked down upon and all this stuff, especially nowadays. So I was going to say I think this whole system is, maybe I've gotten super black pilled in the last 2 months that I'm coming back and sound different. I think it's always believed this, but American education system is just crap.
Burn it to the ground.
Burn it to the ground. There should not be public education system. It's not the role of these people.
Well, what's crazy is that America led the world for years, forever, in education.
I don't think we ever led this.
Yeah, we did. 70s and up until maybe the mid 80s, we led the world. And I mean, people wanted to send their kids to our schools, from around the world.
You mean universities?
Universities included, but mainly, elementary up through. There was a high. It was
not public schools.
Yeah, I think there were.
No,
I think they were.
We've always rated like in the bottom of the world in terms of. We're always like the.
Well, if that's the case, then why would our universities be so good? Why would we have people excelling? They have to have some kind of foundation that they get to build off.
Private school, the schools that are good.
Yeah, there are private schools.
Well, I mean, think of like there aren't international students coming here to go to a public school.
No, they go.
I mean, they're going to prep schools. They're going to Europe, like the Swiss.
Usually, they're affluent, and
they're not.
But
I hear what you're saying, and as much as I love America, I was going to say our education system has never been good.
In 1975, if you would have taken an average, 10-year-old out of a school system with a 10-year-old from India or a 10-year-old from Brazil, our 10-year-old, the United States, the American kid would have been smarter. He would have had more skills in math and spelling and reading.
But not
than
an Asian country or a Western European country.
Maybe not.
Or any of the first world countries.
Never an Asian.
Well, no, that's the whole thing. As a developed country, as a first world country, I mean, it's not fair to say.
I think they would have. I think it would have been competitive at some level.
We've never been.
But now, no, definitely not now.
No.
Now there's no way. But and so it is a dilemma for Christians in some level, because here's the disruption. Because I've done homeschooling. We did homeschooling. We did public schooling. We didn't have private school that we could send our kids to that was affordable. That because I was a pastor and we didn't have the money. But the dilemma for a family is if I pull my kids out and I homeschool, how can I do this successfully and still pay my mortgage? And because a lot of families still are requiring dual income. And I know it's like, well, adjust your income so you don't need that. Well, if you live in an area like we live, it's pretty expensive to live in Northern Virginia. It just is. It's one of the more expensive places in the country to live. I think California, parts of Florida, like South Florida, Miami area, are probably more expensive. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's parts of the country that are more expensive to live, but by and large, that causes a stress on the finances. And if you need two people to work just so you can have a house that you can actually live in, pay the bills, then who's going to teach the kid?
Yeah.
right? So I think what's going to happen is some of these families are going to have to get creative, and they're going to have to create co-ops, and they're going to have to create, and these things exist obviously, but they're going to have to be open to kind of creating the system that they need that's going to help. I saw some meme last week, and it was basically like, teachers, here's your chance. You can you can quit your job and become a homeschool teacher and charge, $200 per student,
Right.
per month or something like that, and have like 20 kids or something, and make your money or whatever. But which is true, there could be some of that happening too. If I could do it all over, I mean, my kids are juniors and seniors in high school. They're almost done. So at this point, it's almost a moot point for us, because we've got one that's done in a couple months and another one will be done next year. And last year, ironically, they did the homeschool thing basically because it was the corona.
Right.
So they were doing school from their bedroom anyways. And who knows how bad that education is going to be for all those students, for that year. And I don't blame the teachers for this either in any way, because there's a lot of great teachers that want to do good and affect a student, but they're fighting in a system that's not helping them.
Right.
They're working in a system that's against every aspiration they might have to help a kid, and it's got to be frustrating. Some of these teachers are lame, and they have an agenda. They just want to make your kid gay or whatever. But there's a lot of teachers that are parents, and they love teaching and they're gifted at it, and the system isn't helping them. So, but yeah, so this situation in Loudoun County is going to be pivotal for the rest of the nation. I really believe that. And like you said, like, it's important to keep your eyes on it and see what's happening, but it's also important to, wherever you live, take a look at what's going on in your county, in your city, in your town, and figure out how you can get involved to be that voice of truth in your area. And, I will say this, a lot of homeschool, families, I know there's a pretty big homeschool community right where I live, and they're great families. Most of them are faith, they love the Lord, but they're unique. They're not real inclusive.
Right.
They get in their circles and they stay in their circles and they kind of keep it that way. And I understand how that develops, but you might have to open up a little bit in order to help progress this thing and really save a generation from going by the wayside.
Yeah.
Because we need the Zoomer generation to come up and have a moral compass and be equipped and prepared to have an argument and to be able to defend and to be able to speak clearly and think clearly, not just be against something. We can't just have the red versus blue, the whole, what do they call that? The two sides,
Yeah.
against each other all the time. It's much more nuanced than that. So they need to be able to navigate in that and not just be pushed to one side or the other, because that's where the war happens, when they pit us against each other. So,
I mean, I think I disagree with most of what you just said.
oh wow, okay.
We should fight against the other side, and they are our enemy.
Well, that's how we do fight. We equip our children so that they can function in that and win the war of intelligence. And thought.
I meant don't.
I mean, if I teach
The liberals hate you, and they do want to turn your kid gay, and they do want to rape them.
I agree.
They want them raped, and they want them ultimately murdered. They want you to kill your child before you even have a child.
Right, that's right.
So I was gonna say,
They don't want them born, much less
I was gonna say,
thriving.
don't let up. And I just hate the binary when everyone says
Binary. That's the term I was trying to think.
Yeah, I always hate when they're like, they're trying to pit us against each other. It's like, no, those other people over there on the left, they hate me. They want me dead. They want me raped. They want me gay. They want me to chop off parts of my body that make me a man. And I don't want anything to do with them. And maybe I'm black-pilled. I don't want anything to do with any of those people.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I don't like the binary, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. well, you conquer. There's technique to
Yeah.
conquer. They have techniques. Well, we need techniques, and we need to implement them. And it is all out war.
Yeah.
We said that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And this is just one small aspect. But man, I tell you, it just hit so close to home.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is a big deal because this story, actually, I was on Twitter and I saw somebody retweeting the post, and they were from either France or England. I can't remember who they were. They were talking about this, this story. So, and it's going to be interesting to see what the school board does. If they step down, if they resign, if they acknowledge it, accept the, if they admit it, who knows what could happen? There could be a lawsuit,
maybe.
personally against them. I mean,
well, I think the one woman stepped down. I saw that she
did
did
she?
step down.
she has
But
a
I think
conscience.
the worst, I think the worst thing that to sum it up as liberal, like from my point about how they hate your kids and they literally want your kids gay and to be troons and to cut off their penises and
We'll define
all
they
this-
for just a second, because
liberals, the left,
Okay, the left. Okay.
everyone that's not right, like all of them, the Satanists. The biggest thing about like the school board, which I think gets lost in it, is so when these 8 or 9 people, parents probably, unless they're weird gays or whatever, which wouldn't, if there's a gay on the school board, it's probably because he wants to molest kids. That's the only reason he's in the school board. I'm just kidding, man. I gotta say some crazy stuff when I get back, but anyways, whatever. Wouldn't put it past it. But anyway, the whole thing is like when they're telling this guy, like, "Oh, you're lying. We didn't like your basically saying your daughter wasn't raped." The thing that should be the most infuriating is those are his neighbors. Like,
right. They live.
that's the thing. It's not like he's going to Congress,
right.
and he's yelling at these people like, "You guys are pushing this," like whoever the education person is or whatever.
Right.
It's not like he's yelling at him like, "My daughter was raped," and he's like, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. It probably wasn't, like whatever." The fact that makes this thing so insidious is his neighbors. Like, these are other people. Like, that's not their full-time job to be on the school board.
Right.
So their parents, they live in his community. They know his daughter was raped because of the actions that they took. And they still lied to him to save face. So that's what I'm saying is these liberal people that live in your neighborhoods, they do hate you. They do want your kids to be gay. They do want them raped, and they want them. They will cover it up, and they will lie.
I think you have a point there that I should point on. If they could have gotten away with this, they would have gotten away with it. That's infuriating.
Yes,
because that means the agenda is more important than the safety of these girls in these schools, because it's the girls that it mainly affects.
Yeah,
the girls aren't the predators.
Yeah,
it's always gonna 90% of the time it's gonna be a guy. 99% of the time it's gonna be a male who's gonna rape a girl. Like, that's just overwhelming evidence, and it's not even debatable. But it's putting them at risk. If they could have gotten away with it, they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah,
that's insane to me.
So, and again, not these faceless people. These are people in your own neighborhood. Like, that's what I'm saying. Your neighbor down the street is going to sit there and lie to you and say your daughter wasn't raped.
But here's the other thing that's more infuriating, Rosie, is that they're trying to pass laws saying that you're a domestic terrorist if you show up at a school board meeting to protest.
That was the woman that stepped down. They called him that. Yeah.
No, but the FBI was being told by the Department of Justice to do that.
Yeah.
So that's insanity to me. Like, they're literally covering for them.
Yeah.
They're literally trying to make it easier for them than to let the public actually have the voice that they should have.
Yeah. Again,
when there's legit outrage.
That's why I've lost faith. What I'm saying is your neighbors, if you're a Christian, a Bible-believing Christian that doesn't want your kids to cut off their penises or their boobs or whatever and take all these hormone blockers that are going to just mess them up for life, if they want to be the way that they were born, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way that God intended, and you want to teach them to be a Christian, you want to raise them up in the truth, your neighbors that are being funded, and I was going to say that the whole transgender industrial complex, this whole idea of what we're seeing in the school board, why are your neighbors, their neighbors doing this? Because they're getting funding. Like they want this, the elites, the people that are funding all this stuff, that are pushing all these transgender bills, they want this in every city. They want this in every state. Right. They want this in every county. And you have, again, this is like...
and the hardest ones to get are the wealthier ones.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like, why would they push it so hard here?
Yeah, well, I was going to say that this is, if you think of, not the Serbian War, the Baltic War, in the Balkans, what am I thinking of? In the 90s.
The Falklands?
No, Kosovo, whatever it was. Anyway, I can't remember. The really big war in Eastern Europe during the 90s that I am not remembering the name of. You had immediately overnight the neighbors, the families that have been living next to each other in peace, yes, Christians and the Muslims, yes, just all of a sudden turn, kill each other. The
Kurds. Was it the Kurds?
No. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was the Kurds, though. Anyways, the whole thing is these elites, they want neighbors to turn on each other, and you're seeing that. So again, that's what's so insidious is these liberal your neighbors hate you and want you dead, want you all this. They hate every fiber of your being, and then they're being funded by these international people. We don't have enough time to go into all that,
right?
But the government is supporting them.
The Bosnian War.
The Bosnian. Yes.
Yes.
Bosnian. That's what I couldn't think of.
Well, Kosovo, I think, was part of
that. Yeah. Super complicated, and it doesn't make
very
sense.
Complicated.
Nobody understand. Probably like 5 people understand it. But all of a sudden, overnight, they start literally killing each other, their neighbors,
because they didn't.
Well, because one's Christian, one's Muslim.
The binary. Yeah. The binary. They hate you. You hate them.
Yeah. And so that's, again, that could happen here.
So let me be the voice of, just for a minute, of I agree with you 100%. They, at the core of it all, they don't want babies to be born, and the babies that are born, they want to control them, and they want to be able to destroy them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, keep them enslaved, all that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. As a Christian, as a neighbor, what's the greatest weapon we have against this? It's the gospel.
Bullets. Oh.
The love bullet of the gospel. Rosie, come on, man.
That's coming out of...
No, I mean, for real, it is the gospel. The gospel transforms, it changes, it sets free, it brings new life. And we have to, as believers, we have to preach the gospel. And look, it's going to be offensive. They're going to hate it at first. Mm-hmm. They're going to hate it. That's why they don't want it in school.
Yep.
That's why they don't want prayer in school. That's why they don't want Christian clubs in the school, because it's offensive to them, because the gospel is offensive, because it calls out people as being what they are, which is sinners in need of redemption and healing and deliverance and new life and forgiveness.
And it only comes in one way.
In Christ Jesus, his work on the cross, and your faith in it.
Yep.
And so I think that we need to remember that.
I like being animated. I missed it.
No, I know. It was good. But what's crazy is, those thoughts that you said, I'm sure there are a ton of our listeners that feel or have thought or maybe even said those things at some point.
I was going to say, never, just because they hate you and they want all that stuff, don't do any violence. I'm just saying, know your enemy, know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Know that they're evil, they need redemption, and know that it's ultimately useless on this planet anyways. That's because it's Satan's domain, and but we can save some souls. That's
right. We can save some souls. And that's the best victory.
Yeah.
Because it's eternal. So anyways, well, this was kind of an unplanned, kind of unscripted, and it went in I figured...
We never have a script. What are you talking about scripted?
Well, at least sometimes we plot out. We plot out what we want to... Yeah. But hey, and I just want to thank our listeners again.
Yeah.
And we had some great episodes coming down, and I want to say as we head out here, if you could do us a favor, just leave a review. I know it's been a while, but that helps us in defeating the algorithm, which is important because we rely on it right now. until we get to fully podcasting 2.0 where it's value for value or whatever. I mean, we don't make any money anyway, so we'll just always be free, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, leave a review for us on Apple.
Leave a review. It's the least you can do.
Leave a review. That's good. I like that. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
And if not, we're going to know who you are.
If you don't leave a review, we'll know exactly who you are.
You don't leave a review, we're also coming for you.
Rosie's got bullets.
Pray.
Neighbor.
Pray that you get lupus.
Lupus.
Scurvy. Your skin's going to turn pale.
Their teeth are, their gums are going to go away. Suck on a lemon, you scurvy-infested neighbor.
I'm just kidding.
All right, well, we'll catch you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the All Out War podcast today. If you had a blast, then we'd love to have you back for another episode. So please subscribe and leave a review. We love to hear from you. You can also follow us on Instagram at All Out War Podcast or on Twitter at AOWcast. These episodes are also available on YouTube unless they contain a little too much truth. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.